Welcome to the video. Before we begin, if not already, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. And click the bell icon to receive notifications when I upload. Comment your little heart out. And most of all, please enjoy. Now back to the video. Well, we're finally here. I'm here to watch Batman, the Batman. I can't say I've been super jazzed about this because, I don't know, how many times are we going to watch the Batman origin story? And just when I was getting used to Ben Affleck, we switch again. So I don't know, but the trailers have been making it look promising. All I ask is that it's a little different, but not too different, if you know what I mean. I've tried to ignore all the stories about behind the scenes drama and all these other spoilery articles that say, oh, guess who's in this one and this who's here. That stuff drives me crazy and it kind of kills my enthusiasm for a movie. So I've been trying to avoid all of that. So now I'm going in with pretty much a blank slate, know very little about it. In fact, I'm so out of practice leaving the house, I almost forgot a mask. I just got this cheap paper one. So hopefully this will be enough. So it's early. I'm like the first person here. It's like the first showing of the day, so it's super cheap. I'm gonna have popcorn for breakfast. We'll see how I feel at the end of it. See you in a little bit. Okay, I'm too early. I really wanted popcorn. Mall food courts are like the saddest things now. Look at that. All gone, baby. Yes. Finally.
Ben Affleck and Christian Bale playing that iconic role.
All right, I'm like the third person in here. I gotta process. All right, my initial impression, I thought it was really good. It opened really strong. There was a lot of, I don't know, it paid off the fact that criminals are so scared of Batman. It made Batman scary, which is something I liked about Batman Begins. But this really showed criminals being genuinely terrified and paranoid of being snuck up on by Batman. Criminals are like looking over their shoulders and stuff like that, looking into dark alleys and dark doorways, and just, you too are waiting for Batman to come out. And it takes a while for him to actually do it. And when he does, oh boy, he is not afraid to give a beating.
He's already dead.
I know I joked about our new Bruce Wayne being sparkly vampire thing, but he has wiped that off the map. That is no longer him. I'm gonna think of him as Batman now. He really nailed it. Is he as good as other Batmen? I call him Batman. He's good in the context of this movie. He's not as cartoony. He's not as comic booky. Neither is this movie. This movie is a lot more grounded in reality, I feel, than even the Christopher Nolan ones. And while those were trying to be realistic, they took some wild science fiction fantasy elements and just, it defeated the realism angle. Microwave emitter. This one, it felt a lot more realistic. His costume looked more homemade, looked more tactical, it looked more practical. And this is supposedly early in his career, so he's not as refined as he is. He doesn't always land on his feet, and he's still becoming Batman. I always thought in Batman Begins, he became Batman awfully quick. You never see him practicing with batarangs and stuff like that. Actually, I don't think he throws a batarang in this one. No, he doesn't have a batarang. That's what the sequels are for, I guess. He's not the suave business guy that George Clooney was, but he's also more of the sullen gothy type, which a lot of people probably be into these days. So, okay. All right. Bruce Wayne doesn't have to be George Clooney in a tux, and which I am completely fine with. Like I said, he fits this movie. He doesn't do the bat growl voice. Not as bad. He changes his voice. It's more gruff, but he's not cartoony, heavy smoker Batman. And there's a lot of elements you can kind of see setting up for any future movies. There's what could be a Robin, maybe. I don't know. There's definitely a Riddler, and I liked this take on the Riddler. No disrespect to Jim Carrey, but this Riddler is terrifying. He is literally insane. He's more Jigsaw, Zodiac killer. The movie plays a lot like a procedural. Batman is the detective, and he actually shows off some detective skills here. In The Dark Knight, that whole bullshit holographic building a bullet to get a fingerprint thing, that's not detective work. That's forensic science fiction. Like, he's following the clues and investigating and figuring things out. Again, it grounds the movie. Paul Dano, he was talking about how he lost sleep preparing for this role and playing it. And at first, when I read that article, I'm like, yeah, sure, right, reel me this. Woo! But when I saw this guy, oh my God, yeah, I get it, man. I thought Catwoman was well done. Wasn't cheesy. Even her whip comes into it at one point. You don't recognize Colin Farrell as Penguin. Reminds me a lot of Robert De Niro and his mannerisms and the way he holds his face. I'll admit, I wasn't a huge fan of Danny DeVito's Penguin. Making him a mutant freak was just a weird choice to me. You know, he's not the big bad. He's not the main adversary, but someday we'll get him in a tux and a top hat. Other villains are potentially set up. I'm not gonna spoil those. It's getting hot in here. If I turn on the car, I have to turn on the AC and I won't be able to record this. Pop the door open. Shut up, car. What's up? Commissioner Gordon is a big part of this story. He's in the action a lot. He's not just some guy behind a desk calling in Batman when he can't handle what's happening. Yay, Batman's here. We can clock out early. He's not Commissioner Gordon yet. I'm waiting for people to pass by. Keep going. Keep going. I liked the music. I liked the way it was shot and edited. You can actually see the action, you can actually make out what's happening in the fights. Now, it's 2.5 hours. It had a lot of story to tell. Pacing-wise, the first 2 hours are dead on, but then the last half hour kind of feels like it meanders a little bit. There's just so much going on and so much to wrap up. Their performances are I found so riveting. The Riddler is amazing in this. I could not stop watching him. And I find it amusing that social media is kind of permeating everything now. The Riddler has a social media account and he has followers. According to a line of dialogue, I think I have more subscribers than he does. I have more than the Riddler. I also found it well written. Pacing suffers a little bit in the last half hour, but that's just because there was so much going on, and just when you think the job is done, it keeps going because there's yet another thing, another breadcrumb, and there's a few twists and turns where you think it's done, but it's not, and it's like, holy shit, when is this gonna end? I really enjoyed it. I mean, that's all. 30 minutes of trailers? Really? 30 minutes. I find it weird and unnatural when they advertise TV shows in a movie theater. I find it weird. 30 minutes. And especially, I've seen all these trailers on YouTube, so 30 minutes? It's PG-13, but it pushes R several times. I think they even, they snuck an F-bomb in there, which I know you're allowed 1 or 2 in a PG-13, but it was early on, and I was like, okay, the tone is set. It's also a lot more violent, even though the violence is not exactly on camera. It's in scene, it's sometimes in shot, indistinct, but you get the idea what's happening, and I think that notion makes it just as violent as seeing the blood splatter yourself. Remember in The Dark Knight, Joker was on a camcorder and he yells at a hostage. Riddler has a similar dynamic. He's just so frightening. I think this is my favorite Riddler. I'd almost compare it to Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix version in tone. It's very serious, but it's not joyless. I think that's all I have, really. I love the music. They finally acknowledged that Batman has makeup around his eyes when he puts the hood on. It doesn't magically disappear when he takes his hood off. But the movie also, it doesn't just explore Batman becoming a vigilante and dealing out justice and all that. It kind of establishes how he becomes a symbol of hope. But he's more than a vigilante beating the shit out of the mentally ill. And he spends a lot of time as Batman. Some of the earlier movies, you see more Bruce Wayne than Batman, but this movie is The Batman, so we get more Batman. Which do you prefer to say, The Batman or Batman? Initially, I was unsure about having yet another Batman in the mix. We're having Michael Keaton return. We still have Ben Affleck out there somewhere. I believe he's coming back for one more Bat project. I would say he's earned it. They've earned another Batman, and I'm okay with this one. The Batman is 4.5 Bs. It would have hit a 5, but there were some pacing problems. It's still not enough to distract such a massive movie, and it just has a lot of baggage, and I'm so glad they didn't break it up into a cliffhanger or anything. They gave it to you in this shot. And if they do make another movie, of course they're going to make another movie. This movie's getting all kinds of praise. When The Batman Part 2 comes out, they've already gotten a lot of the intro stuff out of the way. They've established the universe. They established this Batman, his relationship with Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. There's a lot to play with now, and I'm looking forward to it. Well, thanks for coming with me. Like, subscribe, comment the bell, you know the usual YouTube stuff. This is the newbie, and I'll see you later, kids. Toodles.